I have been doing some grammar work and reading, I should say, in Homer's Iliad, uh, and basically trying to improve my own classical study or study of Homer. We've looked at the first part, that is lines 1 to 7, in which we have the exhortation to the muse to sing of Achilles' wrath, which brought sorrow and death to the Achaeans. This is followed then in the next lines that we've already put up, 8, line 8 on up through line 21, in which basically Chryses, the priest of Apollo, will come to the Achaeans to try to ransom his daughter, who was captive and was made Agamemnon's, can I say, prize in this captivity that occurred. And now we're going to come to see how Agamemnon harshly and very cruelly dismisses the priest as he comes. And so that we'll be picking up basically at line 22, and we'll be going through 30, 32. So we'll pick up there, and I'll be reading in the paraphrase, which we've been working out of, that is the classic interlinear translations of the Iliad of Homer, which is available in public domain on YouTube. And so we'll pick it up then at that point. Enthamen pantes, aloe akaioi, epu thesan. Right before I go on, though, let me just give the vocabulary of this section that I think will help in reading through it. First of all, we have epiphemeo, which means to cry out in approval. Ideamai, meaning to reverence or respect. Decamai, to receive. Andano, to please. Aphiemi, to send away. Tello, to enjoin or command. Kikano, to overtake. Dethuno, to loiter or delay. Ami, to come. Chrismeo, to help or to benefit. Epemi, to come upon. Epoikamai, to go to and fro before the loom. Antiao, to partake or share. Epemi, to come upon. Erethizo, to vex. Lekos, couch or bed. Neamai, to return. Saoteros is a comparative form of saos, meaning safe, hence safer. Telathi, meaning far away. So those are the basic vocabulary of this section. So then we begin reading, and we'll be following the English order, which I hope will help in vocabulary. At least it has helped me as I have read it. So, enthamen pantes, aloe akaioi epu thesan, te idestai hera. And indeed, all the other Achaeans shouted approval, both to reverence the priest and to receive, kaidekthai agla'a apoina, to receive the splendid ransoms that he brought. Notice we have here, indeed, all the other Achaeans, epuphe meson, is to shout approval. It is from the verb epuphemeo, meaning to cry out in approval. So all the other Achaeans were saying, accept what the priest is bringing and release his daughter. To reverence the priest is what they were approving. And by the way, this is an aorist, epuphe meson is the aorist indicative active, third person plural, from epuphemeo, to cry out. And then both to reverence, te aidestai, the priest, and to receive the splendid ransoms. Kaidekthai agla'a apoina. Notice idesthai is from ideamai. It is the present, or the aorist infinitive middle from ideamai, both to reverence, that he would reverence the priest, and dekthai, to receive. This is from dekamai, to receive. It is the aorist infinitive of that verb. So they're encouraging him to reverence and to receive agla'a apoina, the splendid ransoms that Chrysis was bringing. But it did not please the mind of Agamemnon. Notice, Allah uk eindane thuma Agamemni atrede. But, and here we have the sharp contrast in Allah, the conjunction, but, uk, negative particle, it did not, ein dane, it was not pleasing the mind of Agamemnon. Notice, ein dane is from andano, to please. It's the imperfect indicative active, third person singular, from andano. So it was not pleasing thumo, the mind of the mind of Agamemnon, the son of Atreus, Atreides. In other words, he was not willing to release the daughter of the priest. And so the next phrase then, Allah afe'e kakos de epi etele grateran muthan. But he was dismissing her. Notice, afe'e is from afe'emi, means to send away. It's the imperfect indicative active, third person singular, from afe'emi. So he was sending him away badly. Kakos, the adverb badly, or without being nice at all, indecently or badly. And depi, and he was adding a word. Depi, or adding a strong speech. Epi krateran muthan, and atele means to add. Again, it's the imperfect indicative active, third person singular, from telo. So he was commanding or enjoining a harsh speech or a harsh word. And then he goes on, Homer goes on to describe the harsh word. kikayo egome se, geran para koile sin ne usi. That is, may I not find you, O man, near the hollow ships. In other words, he's telling Christus to go away and not linger anymore around the hollow ships. Kikeo is from kikano, to overtake, and I'm reading this as an aorist subjunctive first person singular from kikano. May I not find you, O man, Geron, speaking of the priest, para koilesin ne usi, that is, near the hollow ships. Not either now delaying enun de thunanta, or coming again hereafter. E anta autis husteran. So he's commanding him to leave, really. Either now, de thunanta, delaying. This is from de thuno, which means to delay or to loiter. And here we have a participle, a present active participle, accusative singular from de thuno. I'm thinking of luon, luontas, luonti, luonta. And so this is the accusative singular of this form here, of this word. Neither loitering or anta, altas, husteran. Or, and here, anta, meaning to come again. In other words, I don't want you to come again. Another present participle, accusative, active participle, accusative singular from a me, to come again. And to come, I should say, and altis means again, hereafter, hustera. Lest indeed the scepter and fillet of the god may not profit you. Me nu skeptron kai stemma theoia u chrisme toi. And so he is saying the scepter and the fillet of the god, it will not profit you if you don't go away, if you continue to linger around. Agamemnon is saying. And notice here, u krasme. Krasme is the aorist subjunctive. The present is from Chrismeo, meaning to help or benefit. And here we have the lest it not benefits you, we have the present subjunctive, third masculine singular from Chrismeo. So lest the scepter and the fillet of the god not profit you. In other words, it's not going to help you, and the god is not going to help you. It's interesting. This will cause Apollo to send the arrows and the judgment, or what happens, we should say, hereafter, the plague upon the Achaeans. But then we move on. Dego uluso tain, prin kai keras episin men. But I, he is saying, emphatic here, Agamemnon, very, very arrogant, very narcissistic. But I, ulusotain, I will not liberate her. Notice luso is future indicative active first person singular from luo. I will not liberate her. Pren kai keras episin min. Before old age comes to her. Notice here, after the preposition before, which connects us with her, old age, kairos, epesin. Epesin is from epemi, to come upon. So here we have the present indicative active third person singular from epemi, lest old age or until old age come upon her. In our house, ene gemetero oiko, in our house, in argei, in Argos, far from her country. Telathi patres. In other words, I'm not going to let her go, Agamemnon is saying. She will stay in my house, our house, far from the country. And we would probably supply, well, we need to supply here, her country. Apoi kamenen histan. And that going over, or literally we could render this going back and forth, to and fro before the loom. Apoikamai means to go to and fro. And histon means the web or the loom. So going to and fro, back and forth, applying the web or the loom. And notice epoikamene is the participle, feminine middle, and it's in the accusative from apoikamai, meaning to go back and forth. So she is going back and forth, to and fro, before the web or the loom. In other words, that's what she'll be doing in my house, Agamemnon is saying, and partaking of my bed. Kai anti a osan eman lekas. Notice she will be sharing in my bed. And here we have anti osan is from anti ao. It means to partake. And we have the aorist or the present participle accusative feminine singular from atiao, partaking of my bed. In other words, I'm not going to let her go. She's going to become like my live-in wife, is really what he's saying. And he's refusing Chrysis and his many splendid ransoms that he brought. And again, we can see all of this is going to cause Apollo to do what will happen shortly with the arrows and the plague. Allah ithi, but go, irritate me not. Ereth me me. Notice again, but go, ithi is from ame, to go, or ame, excuse me, to go. And here we have the imperative, present imperative, masculine singular from ame. So go and irritate me, arethitse, not, me. Arethitse is from aretidzo, meaning to vex or to irritate. And here we have the present imperative, second masculine singular from erythizo. So irritate me not, that you may return safer. Hoste ne ai sa oteras. Notice, in order that you may return. This is from net amai, and here we have the subjunctive, the present subjunctive, second person singular from net amai, that you may return. Sa oteras is a comparative use here of sa as, that you may return safer or more safe. And so here we see the arrogance that he's going to keep her far, telathi, far away from her country and keep her with him. So he's refusing the splendid ransoms of Chrysis and refusing what the other Achaeans are encouraging him to do, and that is to respond and reverence the priest. I think I'll stop here, but let me just read it then in the way Homer has it. Enthaloi men pantes epuphemeson akaioi. That is, then all the other Achaeans cried out in approval. Adestai re kai agla deathai apoina, to reverence, that he would both reverence the priest and to receive the glorious ransoms. Al uk atrede agamem memnani endane thumo, but not to Atreus, or the son of Atreus, Agamemnon, was it pleasing his mind, or in his mind. Alakakos afee, gratiran de pi muthan eteling. But he was sending him away harshly, or in an evil way, and putting or enjoining, commanding him with a harsh word, commanding with a harsh word. Me se keran, koile sen ego para ne usi kikeo. Do not, O man, let me, do not beside our swift ships, let overtake you. Do not let me overtake you beside our swift ships. E nun de thunanta, e husteran altis heanta. Neither delaying or loitering, or afterwards coming again. In other words, I am telling you that you must go right now, and don't linger here unless basically you will be overtaken with a disaster that will happen to you. And so then we move on in the reading of the order, I should say, of Homer. Notice he says, me nutoi u Christ me skeptran kai stemma theoia, lest the scepter and the fillet of the god would not assist you. Tain de go luso, plen men kai keras episim. And I, her, by the way, tain is emphatic here in the original order of Homer. Her, I will not release before old age comes upon her. And then Hemetera enioika en arge telathi patres, before or in our house in Argos, far from her country. Histan epoi kamenen kai eman lekas antiausan. She will be going back and forth, to and fro. The loom, emphatic here again, the loom going back and forth, and attending or sharing, partaking of my bed. And then al ithi me merethitse sa oteras hoske ne'ai. That is, but go and do not vex me as it would be safer for you. In other words, return and return more safely, and don't stay and loiter around the ships, that you may return safer, we could read it. So go and don't irritate me, that you might return safer. So that's a reading of the order that Homer writes it in, and a few little things like putting her first, tain, and emphasizing that in the one line, line 29, and so forth. But at any rate, this is helping me anyway to work on vocabulary and also to work on reading. Now, again, for someone that wants to read it in the hexameter, I would go to YouTube. There are many examples of how to do that. And I was not trained in, well, I was not trained in Homer at all. I'm just doing this for the enjoyment of it. My training, as I said, was in Hebrew and ancient Near Eastern languages, but it's a challenge. And I would just want to thank you, but I would encourage you to go to YouTube to find, let's say, the hexameter reading that would be done throughout. So learn vocabulary, I think, is the first step, and then translate it and learn the grammar, how to parse, how to identify forms. And then lastly, I would work on reading, developing that fluency, not only translating, but in the hexameter. And that's something, as I say, I have not done. Thank you again for listening.